Under the influence of an older friend and by my own efforts, I discovered some important new facts about the unconscious in psychic life, the role of instinctual urges, and so on. Out of these findings grew a new science, psychoanalysis, a part of psychology, as a new method of treatment of the neurosis.
Later in life it is more difficult, and it must be an individual treatment. How to convince such a person and how to change him. In this way, we are sure that the key of the individual psychology is the most important and worthwhile key, and we can guess much better with other methods what is the mistake made in the childhood and how to correct it.
An archetypal experience that gives them an incorruptible value. You see, they depend upon other conditions, they depend upon their desires, their ambitions, depend upon other people, because they have no value in themselves, they have nothing in themselves, they are only rational, and they are not in the possession of a treasure that would make them independent. But when that girl can hold that experience, then she doesn't depend anymore. She cannot depend anymore because that value is in herself. And that is a sort of liberation. Yeah? And that is, of course, makes her complete, you know. Inasmuch as she can realize such a luminous experience, she is able to continue her path, her way, her individuation. The acorn can become an oak and not a donkey.
Gestalt therapies working on an equation. Awareness equal present time equal reality. In contrast to depth psychology, we try to get hold of the obvious, of the surface, of the situation in which we find ourselves, and to develop the emerging Gestalt strictly on the I and thou, here and now basis. Any escape into the future or the past is examined as a likely resistance against the ongoing encounter. Modern man has alienated, given up so much of his potential that his ability to cope with his existence becomes badly impoverished. My aim is this. The patient should recover his lost potential. He should integrate the conflicting polarities, understand the difference between game playing, especially the playing of verbal games, on the one hand, and of genuine, authentic, confident behavior on the other.
From my own years of therapeutic experience, I've come to feel that if I can create the proper climate, the proper relationship, the proper conditions, a process of therapeutic movement will almost inevitably occur in my client. You might ask, what is this climate? What are these conditions? Will they exist in the interview with the woman I'm about to talk with, whom I've never seen before? Well, let me try to describe very briefly what these conditions are as I see them. First of all, one question is, can I be real in the relationship? This has come to have an increasing amount of importance to me over the years. I feel that genuineness is another way of describing the quality I would like to have. I like the term congruence, by which I mean that what I'm experiencing inside is present in my awareness and comes out through my communication. In a sense, when I have this quality, I'm all in one piece in the relationship. There's another word that describes it for me. I feel that in the relationship, I would like to have a transparency. I would be quite willing for my client to see all the way through me, that there would be nothing hidden. And when I'm real in this fashion that I'm trying to describe, then I know that my own feelings will often bubble up into awareness and be expressed, but be expressed in ways that won't impose themselves on my client. Then the second question I would have is, will I find myself prizing this person, caring for this person? I certainly don't want to pretend a caring that I don't feel. In fact, if I dislike my client persistently, I feel it's better that I should express it. But I know that the process of therapy is much more likely to occur, and constructive change is much more likely, if I feel a real spontaneous prizing of this individual with whom I'm working, a prizing of this person as a separate individual. You can call that quality acceptance, you can call it caring, you can call it a non-possessive love, if you wish. I think any of those terms tend to describe it. I know that the relationship will prove more constructive if it's present. Then the third quality, will I be able to understand the inner world of this individual from the inside? Will I be able to see it through her eyes? Will I be able to be sufficiently sensitive to move around inside the world of her feelings so that I know what it feels like to be her, so that I can sense not only the surface meanings, but some of the meanings that lie somewhat underneath the surface. I know that if I can let myself sensitively and accurately enter into her world of experience, then change and therapeutic movement are much more likely.
As Epictetus, a Roman philosopher, said many years ago, it's not what happens to us at point A that upsets us, it's B, our view of what happens to us. And in rational emotive psychotherapy, we go after this individual, the patient's view, and show him that whatever he thinks has upset him, usually some external situation, what somebody else has done, it's really what he's telling himself about this thing, this event, which upsets him. And although he may never be able to do anything about the external event at A, he can change the internal event, his sentence, his belief to himself at B. Now, in rational emotive psychotherapy, we try to show the patient three kinds of insight, in contradistinction to some other therapies, which usually emphasize one major kind. The first kind we try to show him is that all his behavior, especially his negative, self-defeating behavior, which we're interested in, which is upsetting him, has clear-cut ideological antecedents. He may have learnt these, as I said before, in the past, but right now, today, he must still believe these same ideologies, else he would not get the negative behavior that flows therefrom. And insight number two, which is most important and which is unfortunately neglected in many other systems of psychotherapy, is that he, being, as Ernst Cassirer once said, a symbolizing animal, is continually re-indoctrinating himself with these ideologies. And that's the issue. That's why he's now disturbed. Now, insight number three is that even when he sees clearly what he's telling himself and that he's telling himself nonsense, only by work and practice, by continually reassessing and revaluing his own philosophic assumptions, will he ever get better. Now, we also stress the fact that action is necessary to change an individual. Just talking about things, thinking about things is nice, but not necessary. I should say it's not a necessary condition for psychotherapeutic change. What the individual has to do in addition usually is act, and we therefore give him concrete homework assignments and get him to act these out and check up and follow to see whether he does these homework assignments.
Anyway, it sort of illustrates what I mean, where the patient came in one day and said to the psychiatrist, by the way, I killed my wife last night and hid her body in the closet. And some people might say, aha, now we got something to work with. What you're interested in closets. way.
Many conflicts and relationship problems arise from the fact that we act to please or harm others, and we feel pleased or harmed by others' actions. If we act to inform or change others at a rational level, and assess rationally, instead of emotionally, the actions of others, then we can avoid much of our minor or serious relational problems and breakups. It's more natural for me to be upset by the fact that the other does not value me positively, as I feel that from his body language, than to be saddened that he did something wrong to me. For the latter, I should have no feelings, but rather think and do something about it. Let's start with the beginning. There are four main things that people do. They think, act, feel, and express through their body language, as in emotional expressions. Well-adjusted people act what they think and express what they feel. Also, in a relationship, they think about what others act and feel about what others express. Unadjusted people act what they feel instead of what they think, or express what they think instead of what they feel. In a relationship, they think about what others express or feel about others' acts. So, to become well-adjusted instead of unadjusted, we don't have to change the way we think, act, feel, or express, but change the relations among these within ourselves, in our relationships, or both.